Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo. We are back for a college basketball show. If you guys remember, we did this last year, a little bit earlier, but we will be bringing this to you every single week until the tournament is basically over. We are 17 days away. So we have Josh Hallman. He's been our college hoops expert. I'm still getting my knowledge up a little bit. Josh has been watching pretty much every night, watching tons of recaps, highlights, games. So he's got a lot of good info for you guys as we head into conference tournaments pretty soon, and then the NCAA tournament. But we're going to go over some of these games on Saturday. We're going to break these games down. The lines haven't been released yet, but we'll kind of give you a good idea of who we like and kind of come up with our own lines and kind of give you guys a good idea what we're leaning towards. So stay tuned. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, sharing. You can follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. This show is brought to you by the Face Off Sports Network. Tons of good Dynasty content coming out, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We got the combine going on right now. NFL draft is next month, after the tournament. So that's kind of when I start kicking up my football stuff. The rookies I'm not so clear on right now, but after March Madness is over, then I start checking into the rookies. You got the dynasty drafts coming up, then you get into best ball season. But we're here for college hoops tonight. We're going to come back on the other end. We'll bring Josh in, Fantasy Savvy Weekly with your host, Steve D'Angelo. Like, subscribe, share, follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. Let's go. Welcome to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo, presented by the Face Off Sports Network, discussing high-stakes fantasy football, waiver, fab, free agent pickups, NFL picks, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, we are back. We got Josh, our boy. You can follow Josh below at Hoop Visions. Not the biggest Twitter guy, but if you got any college basketball questions, send him a DM. He'll help you out. He'll give you some knowledge for sure. And tonight we're going to, we're going to go into these Saturday games. And meanwhile, while we're doing that, we're going to talk about some of the powerhouse teams, the true contenders. We'll talk about some, Cinderellas. And then we'll talk about some NBA prospects that Josh likes as well. So welcome to the show, Josh. It's good to be back after, it's been a year.
Yeah, we finally made it happen again here.
Yeah. I think we started a little bit earlier last year, maybe a week or two earlier, but, better late than never. And we'll keep it going all the way until basically this whole thing is wrapped up.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, so let's get into these Saturday games, and the first game here is UConn Providence, and UConn obviously not as good this year, not as dominant as they've been the past two seasons. Danny Hurley, maybe he's getting a little too overconfident. 19-9 this year, just 11-6 in the conference. They just got their freshman back, Liam McNeely, about a couple weeks ago. So, he's their leading scorer, Salo Ball Caravan, Diarra, Samson Johnson. But, Aiden Mahaney, who comes over from St. Mary's. Just give me your general thoughts on UConn this year. What's the big difference from them in prior years?
I mean, they lost a lot of talent from those back-to-back championship teams. I mean, those teams were amazing defensively. I mean, that's the biggest difference. But, I mean, offensively, too. They were just two of the best teams I've seen in college basketball in a long time, especially last year. I mean, expecting them to do it again is a little much. But, I mean, they're solid. They're a team that could easily make a Sweet 16, but hard to see them going too much farther than that this year.
Sweet 16. Wow. So,
I mean, I feel like that's about the max. I mean, you get a great draw, maybe make it one more round, but.
Yeah, I've watched them this year. They're definitely not as good. I mean, they're relying on Caravan. He's always kind of been a streaky shooter. Maybe the freshman McNeely comes alive, but Salo Ball, Diarra, these guys don't really, even Mahaney.
Yeah,
He's only
Caravan's the guy. I feel like if he would have gone pro last year, he might have got drafted, and that might have been the best route for him because now he's been asked to take on a little bigger role, and he's not really flourishing in that role. So
yeah. So they go to Providence. Providence has been terrible this year, 12-16. They played January 5th. UConn only won by 3 points. So, I don't know what the spread's going to be here. Maybe maybe like 8-9 points, something like that. Maybe actually probably more than that. It might be like 10-11 points, right? What do you see here? UConn, what kind of margin in victory do you see here?
I mean, they need to make a statement here. If they're expecting anyone to fear them in the tournament, they need to step up their game. I mean, like you said, Providence has been struggling pretty badly. So, I mean, theoretically, should be an easy win for UConn, but you never know. These teams, just when you think a team is down, they show up, play a great game. And UConn, like we've said, has not been dominant by any means. So, they've had a few great games where they look like kind of like a team that might have a chance for a while, but then I don't know. I'd probably feel good taking them in this game, but if it's over 10 points, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they played Xavier at home. They lost by 9. They played Creighton at home, and they got blown out. So, they lost by 11, rather. So, yeah, I mean, if it's like 10-11, I think I would go with UConn. I think they're just kind of, they're definitely on par with Creighton, I would say. So, yeah, but UConn, Sweet 16 team, I kind of see that too. Maybe if all things fall, right, they can kind of squeak into maybe they could squeak into the Elite Eight, but obviously not the team that we've come to expect the last 2 years. So we don't really see a three-peat here. And Josh, he's been all over UConn the last 2 years, picking them to win it. So
no chance to win this year.
Yeah,
none.
Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about your Tar Heels. They started out pretty horrible, but now of late starting to come alive. 18-11 now, 11-6 in the ACC, and they've won 5 of their last 6 games. Again, not against the best opponents. Syracuse, NC State, Virginia, Florida State, but they're taking care of business. They finish off with Miami, Virginia Tech, and then at home against Duke. What have you seen from North Carolina, earlier in the year to, down the stretch? Do you think they're, improving, or do you think it's kind of just fool's gold still?
It's been an awful season. I mean, terrible. And we were really bad up until the last game. I thought we played pretty well. I mean, Florida State has not had a good year, but they've got a lot of athletes. They're a talented team, and Carolina looked a lot better. I think we've made some lineup changes here lately that have been beneficial. It's been sad. I mean, the Duke game was one of the most depressing games I've ever watched.
Yeah, they got blown out in that one.
That was horrible. I mean, I was very down on them after that. I was considering not watching anymore. It was getting bad. But, I mean, like you said, we're playing much better right now, and we've had a relatively easy schedule. Still got a couple easy games to go. But Jalen Withers is the guy who hasn't been playing for a lot of the year, just not getting many minutes, and all of a sudden they've started giving him more minutes, and he's playing great. Carolina's been lacking a big guy, which is weird for us because we usually have a couple great big guys. I mean, for as long as I can remember, we've always had a big team. Always we had Armando Baycott was the last guy, and didn't really appreciate him enough at the time because he was always a little frustrating, but I would love to have him back right now. That's for sure. We're lacking that dominant size, and even at the guards, we're small at every position, and we've been paying for it all year. But we're playing well at the right time. Looking like I thought we were going to miss the tournament for sure a week or two ago, and now looks like we might have a shot at it if we can at least give Duke a game here.
Yeah. So what do you think? They got to probably get to 20 wins. Obviously, you got to win these next 2. If they
Yeah,
lose to
gotta win the
Duke,
next
if they lose to Duke, and then what do they get? What do you think they got to do? Win a game or two in the ACC tournament?
I don't know. I would think they'd have to win at least their first game. I mean, Duke is a juggernaut this year. It's long, long shot for us to be able to beat them. They're as good as they've been in a really long time, and it's going to be tough. But crazier things have happened in this series.
Yeah,
We're at home.
Lenardi right now has Carolina as the first team out.
Yeah,
So
it seems about accurate. I mean, we're right there on the edge. Need to win a couple games in the tournament, and like at least get to the semifinals probably to feel even a little bit good about it. Probably going to be nervous no matter what going to Selection Sunday, because unless we beat Duke, unless we make a deep run in the tournament, it's going to be up to the committee really to choosing between a few similar teams. And fortunately, Carolina usually gets the benefit of the doubt if it's close, just because they're such a big name, big school, but they need to earn it.
Ken Palm's got them as the 42nd best team. By the way, Ken Palm has Connecticut as the 37th best team, so just 5 spots away from Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, similar type teams, kind of.
Jalen Withers, you mentioned him, senior. Yeah, he's been playing more minutes, about 20 minutes a game, basically 19, 8, 16, 11. So
yeah,
that's another thing I should mention. We do these player pools for NCAA hoops. And you guys could go to fantasypostseason.com and start your own league if you want. But obviously, that's a guy, if Carolina squeaks in, he's coming down the stretch. He's only averaging 5 on the year, but you look at those last 10, obviously, and this is a guy that may be a target with like one of your last picks or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, let's see if Carolina can finish off strong. If they could beat Duke, I would think they're in no matter what. So
yeah,
that's the key game.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not holding out much hope on that. But
that's gonna be an interesting game. That's a rivalry game, man. Hell yeah, you never know what
they're just playing so well right now. I mean, they are next level. They're a next level team here. Where like I put them and Auburn kind of in their own class a little bit. Like they're a step above everybody right now, and they are the two favorites in my opinion by far.
Yeah. Let's talk about Auburn. They're playing Kentucky 1:00 on Saturday. And yeah, Auburn was a team I was in on last year in the tournament. And what did they lose in the first round or the second round?
Did they lose like Yale or something last year or something?
Yeah, it was terrible. I just remember, being in on them, and they were just, they killed me for sure. Obviously, another year. They got a lot of the same guys back. Bruce Pearl's kind of due for another big run in the tournament. And then Kentucky. I mean,
they killed everybody last year too.
We remember we were talking about Kentucky and how we loved all the Dillingham and all these guys, and they just completely flopped.
Yeah, they lost the first round. I can't remember who they lost to, but
they had so much, and we kind of said that they were kind of team that can make a run to the finals or get knocked off early, and that's that's what happened. Yeah. But I watched Kentucky the other night. This kid Otega Owe took over the game. He was like pulling off like Derrick Rose type drive, like just going to the hoop, relentless, just like off balance shots he's making, and it was against his former team in Oklahoma, so obviously he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and he went off. I mean, he was the reason they won the game. Only averaging 16, but he went off for like 20, 26, 28 points. They got Lamont Butler back recently from San Diego State, Bria from Dayton. So they got a pretty good team. And this is going to be a really interesting game to watch. It's like a must-watch game between Auburn and Kentucky. They haven't played this year yet. So what are your thoughts? Obviously, Kentucky, no more Calipari. What are your thoughts on this matchup here? I would say I don't know what the spread's going to be. I would say maybe. Would you say like Auburn? You think Auburn's going to be favored in this game, or you think Kentucky may be favored?
I would think so. I mean, I like I said, I would take Auburn against anybody pretty much most games. So if they're not favored, I would be taking them. But I mean, Kentucky's finally getting healthy. They've had a lot of injuries recently. There are a couple guards, Jackson Robinson and Lamont Butler, have been out, missed a few games. They finally came back last game, and that's huge for them because they were missing their 2 point guards essentially. So they were having a hard time without that, and they were playing their center as a point guard sometimes. But Owe really stepped up, like you said, and he's a beast. That guy's so strong. He looks like he's going to find his way into the NBA somehow.
Oh yeah,
He can't really shoot that well, but he's just so tough, and the way he's taken over games like this, I mean, that's what NBA guys do.
He is from the great state of New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey.
All
So 6'4", 215 junior. Didn't even know he was from Newark. So that's I'm definitely rooting for this kid for sure. Yeah, he
kind of reminds me like a Josh Hart type of character. You know, just real tough, does all the scrappy stuff, strong. You know, he's not the greatest scorer in the world, but he can score 30 points every once in a while. You know, can have these big games.
Yeah, and Jackson Robinson, Lamont Butler, very good player. You know, one of the best players at San Diego State. Yeah. So getting healthier
Kentucky's
now.
Got great big guys too. Amari Williams and Andrew Carr and Brandon Garrison. These are 3 big guys that are all potential pros. So they've got talent. They've got the talent to hang with them. They're at home. You know, if the crowd gets crazy and they get off to a good start, you know, they might have a shot. But, you know, they better do all those things because Auburn is really difficult to play against. And if they fall behind early or, you know, it'll be a long uphill battle for them.
By the way, yes, Yale beat Auburn last year in the opening round 78-76 as a 13 seed. Auburn was a 4 seed. So this year Auburn will be a number 1 seed, obviously.
Yeah. This is definitely a different team here.
They're the number 1 overall seed, actually, according to Joe Lenardi right now. And then, you know, Houston can make a case too, for sure. And then, freaking Kentucky lost to Oakland. Remember that 3-point specialist they had? I forget.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah, he had so many crazy threes.
Yeah, that was insane. They won 80-76. That was another 14. That was a 14 against a 3. So, we had some giant upsets. We've definitely been seeing, you know, some bigger upsets. They're happening more often in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
You just don't know what the freak is going to go on.
Yeah, anything can happen in that first round. That's why it's my 2 favorite days of the year to watch games.
Oh yeah, by far. I mean, that's one of the best sports. The first 2 days of the sports calendar by far. And again, if you guys decide you want to do a players pool, just like a fantasy draft, just keeping points, you know, there's no pickups. You just draft the guys. And that's your team for the whole tournament, and it's not, you know, you don't get the guys back. That's it. Just do points. We don't do any other stats to keep it nice and simple. So when you're watching, you don't have to like, oh, he's got a rebound. Just, you know, just points. Get in the basket. Makes it nice and easy.
I'm excited for that draft.
Oh yeah, makes it more entertaining for sure. Go to fantasypostseason.com and you could do that draft. Shout out to them. All right, so Auburn, Kentucky. So I mean, let's say the spread is Auburn -1. You're taking Auburn in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for any chance I can to bet on Auburn and Duke whenever I can do it right now because I think they're the superior teams to everybody in the country, and they're just very difficult to beat. I expect them to win. Duke's been beating everyone by like 30. Auburn just beat Ole Miss by 30 last night. They're just pro teams, and they're a cut above. So I'm taking them against everybody pretty much every game.
What about if the spread's like Auburn -4.5? Are you still going to take Auburn? Or are you going to take Kentucky with the points?
I'm probably still taking Auburn. I just don't want to bet against Auburn.
Wow.
I mean, there might be a number where I don't want to take it anymore, but I probably am never going to bet against Auburn.
Yeah, I want to see what this spread is. Auburn on the road, they beat Alabama by 9. They beat Vanderbilt by 12. They beat Mississippi by 10. And they beat LSU by 13. Kentucky at home, 14-2. And, you know, they beat Vanderbilt by 20, beat Tennessee by 11 or 9 rather. Lost to Arkansas by 10. Those are the last 3 home. Oh, and then beat South Carolina by 23. So, I kind of like, you know, I'm kind of rooting for Kentucky now that they, you know, I kind of like their team. But Auburn, I definitely got to watch this game and go deep dive because this is one team, Auburn, and Bruce Pearl, that definitely could win the national championship. So these are the type of teams you want to watch. 26-2 this year, number 1 overall seed. Let's just talk about their players. They're, supposedly they may have Janai Broom may win National Player of the Year. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been great. I mean, I think him and Cooper Flagg probably are the two guys that it's going to come down to. And, Duke did beat Auburn head-to-head, but that game, I was disappointed in that game because this is the one thing that I think Auburn can really screw up here is they have a freshman point guard named Tahad Pettiford, who I think should be a top 10 NBA draft pick, and he doesn't start for them. And, they've got a upperclassman, Denver Jones, who's starting at point guard, and, they've got a lot of other upperclassmen playing big minutes. And I think the reason why they lost at Duke was because Pettiford did not play for the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. And they can sometimes struggle offensively when he's not in there. When he's in there, it looks so easy because he can easily get by his man whenever he feels like it. He's a great passer. He's a great shooter. He finishes, can hit every kind of shot. So they're impossible to guard when he's in the game. And if I'm them, I'm hoping Bruce Pearl, when it gets to the Final Four and on the big stage, he understands that he's got to play this kid 35 minutes. And right now, he's probably only getting 20. He's splitting minutes with a bunch of guys. But that could be the thing that costs them the title if he does that up against Duke. They lost to them because of that reason.
Tahad Pettiford, another Jersey kid. Jersey City, New Jersey, went to Hudson Catholic. We actually put new LED lights in that school. So Hudson
Nice.
Catholic. Yeah, they definitely produce a lot of pros. I also think the guard from Bama is from there as well.
Who? Mark Sears?
Sears. No. I think Sears, or maybe it was Quinterly. Forget.
Okay, he's off the team. He's somewhere else now. I don't know.
One of those guards is from Hudson Catholic.
Yeah, I think Quinterly was.
Yeah, Quinterly.
Now that you mention it. Pettiford. I don't see Pettiford in a lot of NBA draft lists because he doesn't even start. But he's a top 10 player for me. I think he's gonna be great.
He's a little undersized, 6'1".
Yeah, he's small. He is, but he's so crafty. He just gets to where he wants to go, and he's been able to finish around the big guys. And
you got two Jersey kids going at it. By the way, the odds on Player of the Year, Flagg is -300, so he looks like the favorite. Broom though, plus 200, so 2-1, good value there. And then Braden Smith is next, plus 5,000, and then Kalkbrenner plus 20,000. So it's a two-man, race here.
And for me, Cooper Flagg's the best player to me, but Janai Broom's having a great year. They're a different type of player, obviously. Cooper Flagg's kind of a generational talent here. He's going to be the number one pick, barring something crazy happening, and he's scary. His effort level is unmatched. The guy plays so hard on both ends, and it's tough to deal with when you're that big, that skilled, and you play that hard. Pretty hard to deal with him. He just dominates everybody he goes up against. So.
Oh no, he definitely looks really, really good and totally legit for sure.
And it hurts me to talk about it like that.
Auburn right now. So Auburn is your pick for the national champion right now.
I think Duke has a really good chance too, and I hate picking Duke. I can't stand them, but I'll be putting them in some brackets this year. So that tells you how much I think of them because I do anything I can not to pick them. So if I'm picking them at all, then I think Auburn is probably my slight favorite. Duke definitely second favorite. But I will be putting both of them as champions in some brackets for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the Ken Palm up. You could see Duke number 1, Auburn number 2. And you got Houston number 3, Florida 4, Tennessee, Bama, Texas Tech, Wisconsin, Gonzaga, Michigan State.
He has Gonzaga that high? That's crazy.
Yeah, number 9 in his ranking.
Something's a little off there.
Auburn plus 340. They are the favorites. Duke is right behind them, plus 360 to win the national championship on FanDuel. And then Houston's right behind them, plus 750. Bama plus 1,000. Florida plus 1,200. St. John's plus 2,500. We'll talk about them.
Duke is just young. Duke's youth is going to be the thing that could be a question mark. They start 3 freshmen, so given one of them is going to be the number one pick in the draft, so that kind of changes it a little bit. But I'm hoping that's their downfall. The youth gets them. Auburn's got a lot more experience. I think Auburn's a little bit tougher and stronger. They're older, so that youth could play out in strength factor. So
yeah, Chaney Johnson, Mazzara, Broom, they've been there for a couple of years.
They got Miles Kelly from Georgia Tech, who's playing a big role for them.
Nice.
Yeah, they're very talented. Got a lot of size, very physical.
Yeah. So I have to really do it. I obviously I agree they're one of the best teams, the favorite to win the national championship. I just don't want to go. After getting burnt last year by them, I just want to make sure I'm totally confident. By the way, Rutgers and Michigan tied 78-78 on Peacock right now.
Yeah, they came back.
Yeah.
Michigan's been getting pummeled in that game for a lot of it.
And then we got St. Mary's. St. Mary's playing Loyola Marymount at 11:00 tonight.
St. Mary's is dominating that league. So Gonzaga, I don't know how they're ranked so high in the Ken Palm when they're not even the best team in their conference. St. Mary's swept them.
Beat Gonzaga twice, right?
Yeah.
All right. So
playing the last game. Don't they usually play the last game of their conference? But they have played twice already. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll play again in the WCC conference.
Yeah, per usual. Yeah, always.
All right. Let's see. Let's talk about Arkansas. Calipari's first year. I know you were a little bit down on them, but I know you're coming around a little bit on them now.
Oh, yeah, I like them right now. They're playing great ball.
Couple good wins down the stretch here.
Their freshmen are stepping up. They've got a guy, Billy Richmond and Carter Knox, who they're starting to get a lot more minutes and they're playing well. I mean, those are two future NBA players. Calipari always gets the talent. They've always been a very talented team, but they've struggled all year up until the last couple weeks. They've really started to play better, but unfortunately, that conference they're in is just brutal. I mean, this is the best conference I've ever seen in basketball history, the SEC this year.
Wow.
And it's tough. I mean, the bottom teams in the league are pretty good. Like, you could put them in the tournament and they could win some games. And I think Arkansas could easily make a Sweet 16 if they can get in, but their record's terrible. So I don't know if they're going to get in or not.
He brings over Thero and Big Z over from Kentucky, and also DJ Wagner. So 3 guys.
Yeah.
Was Brazil? Was he a Kentucky guy too?
No, he's been at Arkansas. I think he stayed. Okay.
Jonas he was on Tennessee last year. Wasn't he?
Yeah. They got a lot of depth. They got a lot of players.
And then John L. Davis from FAU. So I mean, that's kind of like Cal's forte. His teams start a little bit slow, but then he gets them going towards the end of the year. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how they end up. They got some work to do though. 17-11. We'll see how they finish up here.
They've got a couple big wins the last couple games, so they're coming on strong at the right time. They might have dug themselves too big a hole early, but if they make a good run in the SEC tournament, they're going to be a compelling team to want to put in and see what they can do, because I think they could certainly make a run in the tournament.
Yeah, he's got them as the last 4 in. So they play in that first 4 game, and he has them as an 11th seed playing Wake Forest in their first game.
Wake Forest is playing terrible. I don't think they're going to make the tournament. What I've seen from them lately. They lost to NC State. They lost somebody else. Bad game. Just not looking good for them. It's kind of surprising. I thought they were going to be better.
Yeah, I've watched them. They look kind of sloppy. All right, let's get into we touched on that's good. Let's talk about Kansas. They've been an interesting team. They're playing Texas Tech 2:00 at home. What are your thoughts? They're always tough at home, but this Kansas. Year they've been blown out a couple of times. But they seem, ever since they got blown out against BYU, they seem like they've picked things up a little bit.
It's kind of bizarre. They went through a really bad stretch there where they just weren't very competitive, and they've got a lot of experience and guys that have been there for a while. Harris is there for like his 20th year. It seems like
Oh my
Dickinson's
God.
still in college basketball. These guys have been
I
around
know.
forever.
I know. They got to get some new blood. DeJuan Harris and Hunter Dickinson. I mean,
Yeah,
just like they got to get some, like Dickinson's, he's a total college player, and so is Wagner. But I mean,
I
Harris, they
think
got to,
KJ Adams is the key to that team, and I think he missed some games in there during that stretch, and he's like their energy guy. He's the guy getting all the loose balls, the rebounds, just getting hyped all the time. Playing great defense, and they really need him. Some of their role players haven't really. AJ Store hasn't really panned out what they
yeah,
hoped he had.
he's done nothing. He was so good at Wisconsin last
Yeah,
year too, 6 points a game. Like, what the hell
yeah.
happened there?
He just seems like he hasn't put in the effort to improve. Like he was very talented. You could see it from the very beginning when he first started playing college basketball, but he just seems like a guy who hasn't gotten any better. He's the same as he has been, or maybe worse. So, I mean, he just hasn't improved.
Yeah,
And then,
I don't know about Kansas, like me backing them. Like maybe if they get a good draw, I could see them going to the Sweet 16. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Right?
kind of what I think. In this game, I might like them in this game just because they're really tough at home. They probably have the best home court advantage, one of them at least in the country. And Texas Tech has been injured. They've got a couple guys that have been out. Darian Williams, their best player, probably, or Chance McMillan. They're arguably their two best players, along with JT Toppin. But those two guys have been out for a couple games.
They were out against Houston, right?
Yeah, and if they're out again, I mean, Kansas should definitely win.
Did you
that
see
game.
Mahomes? Did you see Mahomes and Brittany?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a haircut. Trim that crazy hair.
Yeah, he's like, I need a new look. I start over.
Yeah. After that humiliating Super Bowl.
That was crazy. But yeah, Houston on the road. I mean, Texas Tech on the road. They lost to TCU by 3. They blew out Oak State. They lost to Arizona by 9. But they did beat Houston prior to that. Again, they were healthier at that time, and they won by 1. But like Josh said, Williams and McMillan, they're both questionable for this game. Kansas does seem like they're playing a little bit better since they got destroyed by Utah. They lost to Utah, which was a terrible loss. And then BYU completely obliterated them. They killed Oak State at home after that, and they beat Colorado on the road by like 7. But they did beat Iowa State at home earlier, and that Houston game they should have won. There was. Remember watching that game?
They blew it multiple times. Right?
They had 2 6-point leads in the last minute.
10 seconds left.
Blew both of them. So I think Kansas is the play here. Let's see what the spread is, with the injuries. But if like they're minus, 4 or 5, I think I'd roll Kansas in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's never a good sign when a guy's still questionable at this point, coming off of 2 missed games in a row. Like, even if they do play, how healthy are they going to be? I'd back Kansas, especially at like 4 points or something. Like, yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving here. But yeah, Texas Tech as a team, do you see them? They're ranked pretty high. Ken Palm's got them. Where's Ken Palm? Got Texas Tech number 7 in his ranking. Yeah. So where do you see them as a fully healthy team?
It's a little high for me. Let me see where I have them ranked. I keep a ranking system here all the time.
All right, so Hallman over Ken Palm. We got to get the Hallman rank.
I got them at 15 right now. So
all right,
that tells you they're lacking some size inside. So I think they'll be pretty vulnerable against teams that have really good big guys. But they're a solid team. They're tough. They play great defense. I mean, if they get healthy, they certainly have a shot to, like, obviously if I have them 15, I think they'll probably make a Sweet 16. And if you can make the Sweet 16 and you get a good draw, you could make the Elite 8 if, you don't have to play one of the best teams in the country somehow.
Yeah, Ken Palm's got Kansas at 20 right now.
Yeah, I got Kansas pretty low right now, but they've got the talent to be better. They just haven't been playing well, but
I don't want to talk about their matchup, really, Clemson, Virginia, but
Virginia's terrible.
Yeah, they suck. Tony Bennett's gone. I guess the reason he left was just the NIL and the whole new system
Yeah.
of college basketball. He just, probably is just like, forget about it. Let me take a
Yeah, it's
year off.
definitely changed the game for sure.
Yeah, maybe he goes to like a smaller conference or something like that. We'll see.
Virginia looks like Davidson to me right now. Just like not very athletic, just shooting a bunch of threes. A lot of backdoor cuts. And I mean, Clemson is a team I really like, actually. I mean, they made the Elite Eight last year, and they returned a lot of guys from that team.
Yeah, they did. They beat New Mexico. They beat Baylor last year, and they lost to Bama in the Sweet Elite Eight or Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. They beat Arizona as well.
Yeah.
So you like them?
They return almost everybody from that team, most of those players. So I like them. I could see them doing it again for sure. Very capable. They beat Duke. They're one of the only teams to be able to beat Duke, and that was impressive.
They lost that big guy, though, right?
Yeah, they did, but they replaced him with a guy who's pretty good, Victor Locken, who's been playing great for them. I mean, he's the reason they beat Duke. It was PJ Hall that they lost, which is a big loss. He was great, but this guy's bigger. This guy's bigger than PJ Hall was. Victor Locken. I think he came from Cincinnati, maybe.
6'11", the Russian. He's Russian.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good, though.
Napa, Russia, 6'11", 245. Yeah, he's a house.
Yeah.
For sure.
And he can hit threes. He can pass the ball. I mean, he might be a pro. I mean, he's a sneaky pro prospect.
Okay. And then, Chase Hunter.
And I love Ian Shefflin, too. He's another guy. Probably not going to see him on a lot of NBA draft boards, but I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the NBA. Michigan just won on a 3 at the buzzer, by the way.
Wow, that's crazy. What was the final score?
84-82. 3 as time expired. Literally over.
Wow.
Pretty cool ending.
Yeah, I wish I was kind of watching that. I kind of want to. I gotta start gearing up my college basketball watch. We are getting, again, 17 days away from Selection Sunday. So
almost made a little in-game bet. Almost made a little in-game bet on that. I should have done it.
So Clemson, Clemson, you think they could go one step further this year and get into the Final Four?
I mean, it'd be tough. I mean, I think they're certainly capable, but they're going to have to beat somebody really good. Okay. Is my camera gone? I think my camera's gone.
Yeah. What happened there?
I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll just roll with the audio for now.
Yeah, I'll see if it just went off. I don't know what happened. Let's see if I can get it back, but I don't know.
All right. Oh, you could try to maybe disconnect it and then reconnect it, maybe. But
I don't know.
All right, all good.
Just go audio for me. So you can't see my sunburned face anymore. Maybe
Josh lost his care, and I'm talking to the bot. All right. Well, it's good for the audio, regardless.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So, did you get a chance to watch New Mexico at all?
Yeah, I've watched him. I like that Dent guy, Donovan Dent.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better.
He's awesome. Sure. But I mean, to me, it's going to be hard for them. That conference, I feel like, is just not.
It hasn't performed well. Really.
Yeah, they're just not quite on the same level, talent level wise, and. Utah State I've watched a few times, and I like them too. Like, I think they're certainly both capable of winning a game if they get the right matchup. But.
Yeah, he's got New Mexico. KenPom's got them at 40 overall, ahead of Texas, North Carolina, San Diego State, SMU, Memphis, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Nova. So, he's got them fairly high. I did like, what I saw from them as well. But then I watched other games, and they seem like when they get hot, they can kind of play, be very dangerous with Junior Joseph and that kid Nolan can make some threes. And Dent definitely got a lot better from last year. He's averaging 20 this year. But yeah, Mountain West Conference hasn't really performed well of late. But just wanted to mention them, because that is a pretty good conference overall. Good mid-major conference, I guess you would say.
Yeah. And Boise State looks like they've been playing pretty well too. So, whoever gets in, it may only be one team from that conference. It might get two. But
all right,
think they're capable of winning a game for sure.
All right, let's talk about. Did you try to disconnect it and reconnect it or no?
Yeah, I'm
Didn't work?
playing with it. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
playing with it. It's not working.
All right, let's talk about St. John's. Patino, second year now, and I mean, what was it, plus 2,500 to win the
Yeah,
national title? I mean, I feel like this kid, Kadari Richmond, Lewis Jr. So I don't know. This team, Richmond's from Brooklyn. St. John's is back. They took out UConn twice already this year. Patino has taken back the Big East. He's made Bobby Hurley the little man in the Big East. He's humbled Bobby Hurley. We'll see what happens in the Big East tournament. I miss going.
You
to
mean
that.
Danny Hurley?
Danny Hurley. Sorry, Bobby Hurley is the king.
He's been humbled for a while.
Yeah. I'm talking about his I'm talking about his dad. Actually, oh no, that's his dad's Bobby Hurley, right? Bobby Hurley Sr.
Yeah.
So
St. John's, they're definitely dominating the conference. There's no question who the best team in the conference is.
Yeah. St. John's
their defense,
they look great.
Defense is impressive. They're very athletic, very fast, aggressive defense. They have my problem with them. They seem to have too many mental lapses at times, which I feel like is going to cost them at some point in the tournament. But I mean, they've got the talent. That backcourt with Kadari Richmond and R.J. Lewis and Simeon Wilcher. These guys all could be professionals, and they've got their big guys. Zuby Echevor, he might be a pro too. I mean, they've got a lot of talent. Very physical. I mean, they could make a run to the Final Four. They certainly could.
Yeah, if they start hitting threes, they shoot 32% from three or 33%.
Yeah.
And then free throws, 70%. It's kind of like that Calipari team with Rose and Chris Douglas Roberts. Remember, they were terrible at shooting free throws, and it cost them in that national championship game against Kansas.
Yeah.
I think St. John's. Do you think they could get to the Final Four or the finals?
I think they could. I think they definitely could, but I probably won't pick them to be in the Final Four. I think Elite Eight's a little more realistic, but they could. They definitely could do it. They would need a good game again in the Elite Eight against somebody good. They need to shoot it well. They need to be doing everything right. And they're capable.
Yeah,
I just don't quite trust them.
Okay. Ken Palm's got them number 14, 25-4 on the year.
I've got them at 9 in my pool. So
okay, you got them even higher.
Yeah.
They play Seton Hall. They destroyed Seton Hall back in January 18th by 26 points. So the spread's probably going to be high. Probably going to be like St. John's minus maybe. Seton Hall's 7-21 this year.
They've had a horrible season.
So I mean, this spread's probably going to be maybe double, 20, maybe 22. I guess the only play really is to take St. John's, but you got to pay a pretty penny. But just wanted to talk about them really, as their chances. But definitely a fun team to watch. Like Josh said, good defensive team. They're not the best shooting team, but they get to the basket. They play good defense. They press, typical Patino style. So he's back. The Kings of the Big East. We'll see if they win the Big East tournament. But definitely did want to get them in here.
They should be the big favorite there. I mean, Creighton and Marquette, certainly teams that capable of beating them. UConn, I mean, they could beat them, but I wouldn't bet on it. So it's St. John's to win for sure. But
if you guys want to talk anything college basketball, even fantasy football, hit us up in the chat. Make sure you liking, subscribing, sharing, following Josh at Hoops Visions. Follow me at X at Fantasy Savvy. All right, next game, another big time game, 4:00. Tennessee versus Bama.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's going to be. Let me just get to this game real quick. Tennessee Bama. Obviously a very, very good matchup. What do you think the spread is going to be in this game?
That game is in Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Probably Tennessee by a couple.
Tennessee,
Um,
what, -6?
I'd say less. Alabama is
4.
another team I think is capable of winning the national championship, but they they have some problems with who are they going to play too. They have so much depth that it's making it difficult for the coach to put the right players on the floor, and I think that's going to dictate how far they go in the tournament because they've got the talent and they've got the experience. They were in the Final Four last year. They got Sears, who just hits huge shots. He plays great in the big games. They're so talented. They've got so many guys, and it's hard to know who to put on the floor. And I think they're having a hard time figuring that out. And it's cost them a few games here and there. And Tennessee is super tough. They're a team that I watch them. Sometimes I don't think they're that great, but they're just so hard to beat. It's just they play good, tough defense. They got the guy Ziegler, the little guy who just always plays bigger than he is, and they're very difficult to beat. In a home, it's gonna be tough. I'm excited for that. That's the best game of the day, I think.
Yeah. Bama on the road. They lost to Missouri by 12, 98-110. They beat Texas by 23. They beat Arkansas by 4. They beat Mississippi State by 4. Then Tennessee at home beat Vandy by 5. Missouri by 4. They beat Florida by 20. That's a weird game. Did you watch that game?
But Florida had beaten them by 30 before that. So
wow,
they had a weird home and home there for those
44 points for Florida. Wow, they got beat up.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bama lets up a ton of points. Tennessee's known for their defense. They did lose to Kentucky at home back in January 28th. So yeah, so you think Bama is going to be like a 4-point favorite? I mean, a 4-point dog, 3-point dog?
Yeah, I think Tennessee. I'd probably, if I had to guess, I'd say Tennessee by 3. But
okay, Tennessee's won the last 3 matchups.
And I don't know who I like in that game because I like the talent of Alabama, but Tennessee at home is tough, and Alabama's defense has not been good enough. Like I have Alabama ranked number 3, I believe, right now. But their defense hasn't been good enough, and they're not playing their best lineup often enough to me, and I think it's costing them.
Yeah, Ken Palm's got Tennessee 5 and Bama 6, so right next to each other.
Yeah, so Tennessee's a tough team. That's definitely the game I want to watch this weekend.
I would take Tennessee because I feel like if you get physical with Bama, you could kind of slow them down a little bit. And I would take the defensive team at home.
Yeah, the home crowd certainly might help.
Yeah, so if
they probably need the win. They probably need the win more too. So
yeah, if that spreads like 4 or 5, I'll take Tennessee in that game. All right, but we'll see what the spread comes out as.
Yeah, that game I feel like could definitely go either way. It's just going to be who brings it on that given day because I think both teams are certainly capable of beating each other. And
yeah, speaking of upsets and mid majors, Yale 11-0 in the Ivy League, 18-6. Have you seen that play this year? We just talked about how they beat fucking Auburn in the first round. And these Ivy League teams, they always seem to pull off an upset.
Yeah, they really do. Princeton won one a couple years ago. I think it was Arizona they beat maybe in the first round.
Yeah, remember McCollum? That was the famous McCollum against Duke for Lehigh.
Yeah, Lehigh. Yeah, they got a bunch of smart guys out there, who they're not going to beat themselves. And if they're shooting threes and you leave them wide open, then you're setting yourself up to lose. Like when I watch them play, they don't look like a team that should beat any of the top teams in the country. But that crazy things happen in the tournament, so I wouldn't put it past them to win a game.
Okay, Oregon. Dana Altman's teams always kind of start a little bit slow, then they get hot, but they actually started out hot. Then they kind of had a little bit of a lull. They lost like 6 straight, but now they've won 4 straight, and they came back at a great comeback at Wisconsin and won by 4.
Yeah. It's a tough team to figure out, Oregon.
Yeah, they're always weird, but it seems like when Altman gets in the tournament, his teams are always pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some talent. That Shellstead kid
Yeah,
hit
he's
some
good.
monster shots in that Wisconsin game. I don't know how they won that game. I think Wisconsin was up like 15 with
I know.
10 minutes to go.
I bet Wisconsin in that game. It was like minus. I think it was like -7. Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they totally blew the lead. It was crazy.
Yeah, disappointing for Wisconsin, but Oregon's got some talent and capable, but Wisconsin, that was disappointing for me. I expected more. Expected more from them.
All right, let's talk about Houston. Kelvin Sampson, obviously, he's due for a national title. I believe he went to he's been in a couple of Final Fours, once with Oklahoma, maybe once or twice with Houston. I don't know, but he's due for a national title. I mean, now it seems like more than ever, this could be the year. I mean, I know you love Auburn, but you have to think they're neck and neck with Houston, don't you think?
Well, I feel like I agree that he's due, but I don't think they're going to win it this year. Like, I don't think they're on the same level as Duke or Auburn. Like,
Okay.
They are super tough. I mean, they play harder than anybody on a consistent basis every single year. So Coach Sampson obviously puts the fear into him or something. I don't. He gets them to play so hard, but I just don't think they're as talented, and they're not as big, and they don't have as many scoring options. Guys who can create their own shots. That Milos Uzan has been playing great. I love him and LJ Cryer are playing well, but the supporting cast is just. I just don't think they have quite enough. They're obviously a good team, and they've won the conference already, I think.
Yeah, they always win ugly. And then like Cryer, the transfer from Baylor, was his second year there. Like, yeah, I don't know if he could really be your best player, but I mean, he's hitting. He looks even better this year. He's hitting like all these step back threes, and then they got Sharp who could shoot threes. Juwan Robert, big. Yeah, that kid Uzan has played well. But yeah, I kind of agree. Like it seems like they always kind of get to a certain point and then they just falter when like it comes to like the Final Four, the end stages of the tournament.
Yeah, see, I mean, they're a team. I think they're certainly capable of making a Final Four, but I have them ranked. Where are they at? 13 in my poll. So that tells you where I think they stand. They play so hard that they're always capable of winning, and they can win ugly, like you said. I mean, they can. And when you play that kind of defense, you always have a chance, but I haven't been that impressed with them other than their effort. I'm always impressed with their effort, but it's just sheer talent wise. Just don't think they're on the same level as those top few teams. Those SEC teams are like, I could see 3 of the 4 teams in the Final Four being from the SEC. Like if I had to pick, I'd say Auburn, Florida, and Alabama could all make it with Duke.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a big spread. Houston just beat Iowa State by 9 at home. They beat Baylor by 9 at home. They did lose to Texas Tech by 1. They beat Oak State by just 9. So all their home win, their last 3 home wins were by 9 points.
So they play in Cincinnati?
Playing Cincinnati, but Cincinnati lost by 11 to Iowa State, 3 to West Virginia. They beat UCF by 10. They lost to Utah by 3 and got blown out at BYU. So yeah, this is probably going to be like I would say like a 12, 13 point spread. I think I would just take Houston on the spread. Cincinnati though, 17 and 11. Do you know anything about them?
I mean, they should be desperate because they're one of those bubble teams right on the edge, needing a win bad. They beat Baylor a couple days ago, close game, but they pulled it off. I mean, it's hard to see them winning the game. They just don't really have the talent level. But, I mean, they're capable. I like their coach. I was actually hoping Wes Miller was going to be hired by Carolina because he's a Carolina guy. But they passed him over. And
I don't even see it. Right now, they're not in the tournament.
Yeah.
So,
they are desperate. They won this game. If they won this game, they'd be in the conversation. So.
Based on that, I mean, maybe Cincinnati is the play here.
Right? I mean, especially if you get a big spread, because Houston
they don't care though, because they just play the same every game. They just grind you out and they'll just demoralize you.
It's true.
Cincinnati may try, but
Yeah.
Houston's not going to take a day off. Like they're going to
Yeah.
come out and beat you up regardless. And Simpson's going to tell them that like this team's desperate. Don't let them jump on your neck, or you're going to get freaking. I'm going to come after your ass. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Cincinnati
tough.
has a guy named Jizzle James, who's he's one of the more fun guys to watch, and he's got a cool name. But
That's a great name. Chisel
he's a
James.
great player. He's fun to watch. And they've got a couple other guys. Like they certainly could be capable of pulling something off in that game, but they also could just get hammered by 20 points too. So it's one of those I don't like betting against Houston because of how hard they play. They're not going to have a letdown of effort. So
yeah. What's the type of team that beats Houston in the tournament?
Obviously, Auburn and Duke for sure. I think Alabama, Florida, Clemson. I think a Michigan State could beat them. I think a Maryland could beat them. BYU, St. John's, Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky. Those are all the teams I have ranked ahead of them. So,
okay.
I think all those teams I would probably pick over them. But like we've said, they're very difficult to beat. They're not going to give it to you.
All right. Let's keep it moving here. Missouri, 21-7, taking on that's a good game. Also got a good game in the Big East between Creighton and Xavier. Xavier kind of on that bubble too.
Yeah.
18-10. Creighton is 20-8. They're in the tournament right now. 13-4 in the Big East. So that should be a good game. And then you got another good game here in the SEC between Missouri and Vanderbilt. Missouri ranked 14 this year.
They're very good.
What do you think of them?
Yeah, I'm impressed with them. They play great defense. This coach, I don't really know who their coach is, but
he's been there for a couple of years. Very sharp dress, very well-spoken guy.
Yeah, and I think in his first year, they might have lost every single game in the conference. And now they're one of the better teams in what's the most difficult conference in the country. So he's done a great job turning that program around, and they're very talented. They play tough D. They've got a lot of scoring options. They've got this sharpshooter, Caleb Grill, who came from Iowa State, who's one of those guys you just can't leave open anywhere on the court. He can just drain them. And they're tough. They've got Mark Mitchell, who's a transfer from Duke a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've got some talent. They've got a lot of transfers in there who are making a big impact, and they're a dangerous team.
And they beat some good teams. They beat Kansas. They beat Arkansas. They beat Florida at Florida. They beat Alabama. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
They did lose recently to Arkansas.
Yeah, but Arkansas is a legit team right now. I mean they were leading that game. Missouri was leading it for most of the game, and Arkansas had a big run towards the end, stole it. But
Vanderbilt's not bad either, right?
No, they've beat some teams, and they've nearly beat a few more. I think they lost I think they did end up losing to Tennessee, but maybe by one. I mean, they've played a lot of good teams really tough. They just won at Texas A&M. So that's a huge win.
Remember that Vanderbilt? I don't know if you remember this, but Vanderbilt was good that one year, and they played Georgetown in the Elite Eight game, and Jeff Green had that weird walk. It was almost it was very close, but they didn't call it, and Georgetown beat Vanderbilt to get to the Final Four. That was the last time Georgetown was in the Final Four.
Well, they've showed some signs of life this year, at least Georgetown. You got to be at least pleased with the direction it's moving in.
Well, we just lost our best player, Sorber, for the year.
Oh, no. Well, next year will hopefully be.
Yeah. I mean, Cooley, I feel again, the reason I don't like Cooley, he was in so many years in Providence, and they won one Big East title, and they won one conference tournament, but he was there for I don't know, 10, 12 years. So I feel like there's a cap on Cooley. He can only take you so far. And I kind of feel that's gonna be the thing with Georgetown. They'll probably be a little bit better next year. Maybe they'll make the tournament, but they're not ever gonna get back to the Georgetown of old.
Yeah, I could agree with that. He'll get you to be competitive and be a tournament team, but probably not going to win you any national championships.
Yeah, you never know though. Obviously, if you can kind of create that allure, obviously it's a little bit. It should be better to do at Georgetown than Providence and get maybe some bigger recruits in the next couple of years. But we'll see. But they're done. Vanderbilt. Missouri. They played January 11th, and Missouri won by 9 at home. So this is a revenge game for Vanderbilt. 19-9 is Vanderbilt on the season. Looks like they're in the tournament right now, from what I could see.
Yeah, should be right around it. I like Missouri. I think I would have to take them this game. I just like them better as a team.
Missouri on the road lost to Arkansas by 7, took care of Georgia by 13, lost to Tennessee by 4, beat up Mississippi State, and then lost to Texas by 7. Vanderbilt 13-2 at home. They beat Mississippi by 5, lost to Auburn by 12, beat Texas by 8, and beat Kentucky by 5. So,
I'll be interested to see the spread on that game because.
Well, Vanderbilt should be favored, but the question is how much, like 2-3 points maybe?
Probably. And if they're favored, I'm definitely taking Missouri because I think Missouri will win, but they've been tough at home.
Do you think Missouri's better than Kentucky?
It's close. Kentucky hasn't been healthy, so Missouri's been playing better recently, but maybe at full health. Kentucky, I think Kentucky probably has more pro talent, but I don't know. Missouri's playing harder and smarter, I'd say. So, if you force me to choose in a game between them right now, I'd probably take Missouri if they were playing tomorrow. But Kentucky probably has more talent.
Yeah, it sucks that the lines aren't out, but this is the first show of the year, so we're kind of just previewing all these teams and talking about their prospects for the NCAA tournament. Trying to figure out these odds and kind of give you guys a feel of what's going to go on. But
I got the camera.
Oh, sweet! What'd you do?
Finally. I don't know. It just finally started working again.
All right, bang! There we go. So, so maybe next week, and as obviously for the tournament, we'll have the spreads and. We'll get some more, get a little bit, we'll nail it down a little bit better, but giving you a pretty good idea right now. All right, next game, next team. Let's talk about briefly, very, very brief. I don't want to talk about them too much, but SMU, I mean, historically, I don't think has SMU ever been a good college basketball team. It's usually football, but they're good this year. They're 21-7. They moved to the ACC. They're 12-5. Have you seen them play?
I've seen them a couple times, and they're solid. I really like their another point guard with a cool name, Boopy Miller. He's played well. He's been out the last couple games, I think, and they're still fairly competitive, which is kind of surprising. They don't look like the most talented team when you're watching them, but they're smart. They're not beating themselves, and they're up there near the top of the ACC. I think they might be in 4th place.
I mean, whoever the athletic director or the head coach, they must have really did some. I mean, they moved to the ACC. They must have did some really good recruiting because, again, I don't remember the last time SMU has been in the tournament. Do you?
No, not really. I can't think of it. And they definitely haven't really made an impact if they did make the tournament. So I can't really think of a time that they've won any games. But they're right. I feel like they're probably on the edge of making the tournament right now too. So that they're definitely not. I wouldn't think they're certainly in, definitely. But they got to be in fairly good shape. But if they can't go without their best player for too long, though. If he's going to be missing, I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know how long he's going to be out. But that's a big loss.
They've been in the NCAA tournament 12 times. They actually did make a Final Four. Was that with I don't know. I know Larry Brown was the coach there for a little while, but I don't think they ever really did anything.
In the 80s?
No. Larry Brown was coaching them. I guess after he left the Sixers, he went over there. They were 27-10, and they went to the NIT. But I'm trying to see when. Okay, the last time they were in the tournament was 2017. So not too long ago. Then 2015 before that, and then 1993 before that, and they lost in the first round every single time.
Yeah. Not notoriously a good program for basketball.
They went to the Final Four in 1956.
Okay, I remember that well.
Yeah. So 2017. So what? 8 years they haven't been in the tournament. So yeah, I don't really ever remember them doing
Yeah, it's a team
anything.
I wouldn't expect too much from them. If they make the tournament, that's big for them.
Yeah,
And
I just did want to mention them because I just wasn't used to seeing them around.
yeah, solid. They had a good year.
And you got Boopy Miller.
Boopy Miller, yeah, him and Jizzle James, two of the coolest names.
All right, real quick again, let's talk about Louisville. Do you have a good feel for them? 19 in the country, 22-6.
Yeah, I mean they've been very solid, really solid team. They're nothing super special. They got Chucky Hepburn. He transferred from Wisconsin, and they got what was it Terrence Edwards who transferred from what team was he on? It was a purple team. One of those purple teams that won. Furman maybe or something. But yeah, they've got a bunch of transfers that have come in and
James Madison. I like James
purple.
Madison last year.
Yeah, purple.
Yeah.
But I mean
they were a popular team last year. James Madison.
Yeah, I mean I think I have them. What do I have them ranked? Yeah, I mean I don't have them too high. I got them like 30. So they're a decent team. They're capable of winning a game, maybe two at best in the tournament, but not a threat to do anything serious, I don't think. Clemson's a much stronger contender in the ACC than Louisville, I think.
Ken Palm's got them 24, Louisville.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Louisville. You don't think they're a true threat to make any big noise?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, I'd be shocked if they went farther than a Sweet 16. That's for sure.
Okay,
but
they're taking on Pittsburgh, who I don't know. I kind of like them, 16-12, but it doesn't seem like they're gonna. They got screwed. I thought they should have made the tournament last year. They didn't make it.
They've been stumbling down the stretch here. I don't know what's going on. They were playing much better earlier in the season, and they've really fallen off lately. I don't know. I haven't been paying too close of attention to them. I don't know if somebody's hurt, but they've been getting beat a lot. I've seen them on the losing end of a lot of scores lately. So I kind of quit paying attention to them because it's looking like they might not be in the tournament.
Okay, let's talk about Duke. Cooper Flag and playing Florida State. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton is still going over there, 16-12. So I guess Florida State's playing a little bit better of late.
I think he announced his retirement, right? I think this is last year.
I think he's done, yeah.
It's about time.
They're 3-3 in their last 6, but before that they had lost 4 in a row. Or maybe
they're one of the most disappointing teams in the country to me. Like when I just look at their players, they have so much talent, they have so much size and athleticism, but they're not putting it together at all. Their defense is terrible. Carolina just tore them up the other day. And I think they've got at least two NBA players on their team, but
they haven't played these two teams haven't played this year. But last year they played at Florida State. Duke won by 9 and Duke destroyed them at home. Actually 2022 was the last time they played at Duke. Duke killed them the last 2 times at home. I guess you're expecting the same here. Or do you think Florida State maybe?
Duke's playing way too well. Florida State's defense is playing terrible, and their big guy, who I think will be an NBA player, got hurt towards the end of the Carolina game, and losing him too is going to kill them. I mean,
Malik Owen.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's an NBA player, but
6'11", 230, yeah.
The injury looked pretty bad. It looked like he's probably not going to play in this
ankle.
Anytime soon. Yeah, I'm guessing he's out.
Okay. But Proctor is also questionable in this game.
Yeah. Duke's just playing a different game right now.
Yeah, we know about Flag. Is there any other NBA prospects on this team?
Yeah, Con Knipple. He's also a freshman. He's going to be a pro. Proctor's a pro, probably. So this Zion James guy has been playing great. Malawach is their big center. He's a freshman too. He's been in the top 10 of some NBA mock drafts.
South Sudan, he's from
I think
7'2",
I think it's a little too high for me, just because he just started playing basketball. I think he's a guy that, like, only played for a few years. He's just got the perfect size and athleticism for it, but he doesn't really know how to play that well. But he's good at catching alley oops, and Duke is just passing the.
Shoots 72% from the free
Yeah,
throw
because
line.
all he does. Yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of potential for sure, but like I have a hard time picking a guy in the top 10 of the draft who's only played for a couple of years. Like, if he's going to be really good, it's going to take him 4 or 5 years, and whoever drafts him probably won't have him by the time that happens.
This
But
Con Nepal 6'7", 217. What would be
he's
your
awesome.
NBA? What would be your NBA comparison for him?
Let me think. I don't know.
Like a who's the guy that played at Duke? Dunleavy.
Yeah, well, Dunleavy is a little bigger, more athletic. This guy is one of the best shooters in the country, though. If he's wide open, it's automatic from anywhere, and he's one of the most competitive dudes out there. And he's tough, strong.
Shoots 39% from three, 90% from the free throw line, 46% from the field.
And he's just a smart player. He can handle it well enough to maneuver around. He passes really well. I mean, he's really got a pretty complete game. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he relentless effort, and he's really tough, strong, way stronger than people probably think. He's a guy. Whoever he's playing against probably thinks he's going to go bully him or something, and finds out real fast that he's way stronger than he thought. That's my guess for him. People probably think they're just going to come in and dominate him, and then he just destroys them.
So if you had to pick Auburn, Duke, who would you pick to win the national title? I know it pains you as a Carolina.
I'm taking Auburn. I'm taking Auburn because of the experience. I think they've got a little more talent overall, but Duke's certainly capable. Duke's got the best player, and I don't know. I'm hoping that the youth just costs them when it really matters. And maybe the strength factor. I think Auburn's a little stronger. I think that could be the difference. But like I said, I think Pettiford's got to play. If they only play him 15 minutes in the championship game against Duke, they're going to lose. Okay. I think he's the difference for me.
All right, another big game in the SEC, 8:30 in Gainesville, Texas A&M versus Florida. Texas A&M 20-8, number 12 team in the country. Florida number 3, 24-4. So Florida, completely legit. Do you think they could get to the Final Four?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they beat Auburn bad at Auburn. I think they won like by 15 or 20. It was like not even close. And if you're capable of that, you can win the championship. I think I have some questions about their physicality and their defense at times. Like, they're not quite as intense as Auburn and Duke. So
like when they scored 44 at Tennessee, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they've had some letdowns where you're confused when they lose a game. Like, how did you lose that one? And, like, Duke and Auburn, meanwhile, are just punishing everybody every game. And Florida's had a great year, and I think they're one of the most talented teams in the country. I have them 4th in my rankings. So,
remember that game last year between Florida and Colorado in the opening tournament?
Yeah, it was nuts.
102
I was watching that in the car on the way back from some
102 to 100 that game.
Yeah, that was wild. Florida let me down last year. I expected more of them last year, but they're another team that's very deep. And like, I think a lot of these SEC teams have the same issue where they almost have too much talent, and it's kind of hard to decide who to put on the court and who you're going to play together. And I think all those teams are still kind of figuring it out a little bit, and struggling with some of the lineup decisions. And that could end up being the difference between who wins the championship, is if they don't find the right combination. And Duke seems to have their combination figured out. They know who they are, they know what they're doing, and these other teams seem to be, they've got all the talent, but they've got some questions on who needs to be playing. So,
All
I
right,
love Walter Clayton for
A&M.
Florida.
Yeah.
For Florida,
Florida.
they've got several good big guys. Alex Condon, I like a lot. They've got Elijah Martin transfer from Florida Atlantic.
Oh yeah, another
They've got a
Florida
lot of
guy.
big shot. They've got a lot of big shot makers. They can, and Will Richard, they can score in a hurry.
Yeah.
And so they're capable. Like I think they're capable of winning the whole thing if everything breaks perfect for them. But it just
Like you said, they won at Auburn by 9, and then at home, killed Oklahoma, killed South Carolina, won against Vanderbilt by 9. So Texas A&M, Buzz Williams always has a tough team. At Mississippi State, lost by 14. Beat Missouri by 3 on the road, beat South Carolina by 4, lost to Texas by a point, and beat Mississippi by 1. What do you think the spread is in this game? Maybe like Florida -9?
This game's at Florida. Is that right?
Yeah.
My camera's just going in and out. Yeah, I mean, Florida, I like Florida. Texas A&M has just been kind of inconsistent lately. They just lost at home to Vanderbilt, which is kind of concerning. They play great defense, but I don't know if they can score. They can keep up with the scoring of Florida. I mean, Florida can just score really quickly. They all can shoot. They can put a lineup out there where all 5 guys can handle the ball, can pass, and they can shoot. And so that's what makes them so dangerous to me is they have the capability of putting a team out there that is really difficult to guard because if everyone is capable of making that open 3, if you leave them there and they all can make the right pass, I mean, it's tough to guard them. It's not much you can do. And Texas A&M, they get very reliant on Wade Taylor way too often. He starts trying to do everything for them, and
right.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be a tough game for Texas.
So you think Florida probably wins this game by what, like 11, 12 points?
Yeah, I like that. And I think Florida should win it comfortably. If they don't, it's probably because they got beat up physically. Texas A&M's pretty strong. They're tough defensively, and that's my one concern with Florida is their toughness at times. But I think they're tougher than last year, and I expect Florida to win fairly easily.
Okay. Speaking of teams that their toughness is kind of questioned at times, Arizona playing Iowa State. That should be a good game at 9:00 on ESPN. 19-9 for Arizona, 21-7 for Iowa State. Arizona beat Baylor by 7 on the road, lost to Kansas State by 3, beat BYU by 9, Arizona State by 9 as well. Iowa State at home beat Colorado by 14, Cincinnati by 11, killed TCU by 30. Did lose to Kansas State early in the month by 19 at home.
Is this game at Iowa State?
Yeah, it's in Iowa State. So what do you think the spread of this game? Like minus
that's one of the
6?
best. That's one of the best home court advantages in the country, Iowa State. So that's a tough place to play.
The question is, Gilbert, he's a really good player. He's banged
up. Is he
up.
Still out?
He's questionable, so I don't know if he's coming back.
They had missed Curtis Jones too. He came back last game, but those were their 2 top scorers. So they played Houston without either one of those guys, and they were competitive.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And then they got Jones back, and I think they got smashed by somebody not that great.
So what do you think the spread in this game? Like, these are pretty evenly matched teams, right?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona is a weird team for me. I mean, my boy Caleb Love is one of the most hit or miss players out there. Like when he gets hot, he's capable of he's so confident that like he thinks he's better than everybody every game. And sometimes he's a complete bonehead out there and just plays like an idiot and they lose. But like he's capable of carrying the team, and they've got talent, they've got size, they've got athleticism. Like I'd take Arizona in this game probably just because Iowa State's so banged up, and Arizona's got a size advantage. And
so if the spread's like 7-8, you're going to take, or like 6, you're going to take Zona.
Yeah, I'm probably taking Arizona regardless because I think Iowa State will be the favorite. And
what if Gilbert plays?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. But even if he plays, it's hard to trust people coming off of an injury when they've missed
True.
several games. And that first game back, how healthy is he really? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough place to play, and Arizona is a hard team to trust for me. Like they can easily have letdowns, but I think they have a lot more size, a lot more athleticism, and Iowa State's just banged up. It's really wearing on them. You can tell. And
I
I
thought
forget who did
I
they
think
just lose to?
Houston.
They did lose to Houston. That
Oh,
was
Oak
somebody
State. Yeah, they
Oklahoma
lost to Oak
State.
State. That's a bad
Yeah,
loss. Yeah.
yeah, they've had a rough year, Oklahoma State.
Well,
So
so 2 straight losses. They come back home. They get to regroup now. So maybe if you catch like Iowa State -4, -5,
yeah,
but if it's like 7, 8, maybe you take Arizona.
yeah. Maybe if it's like within 2 points and Gilbert's coming back, I might think about Iowa
All
State,
right.
but
Yeah,
probably gonna roll with Arizona and hope.
this will be a tough spot for Arizona on the road, but they did win at BYU and they did win at Baylor. Those are 2 tough spots as well.
Yeah, and BYU is a team I really like now.
Yeah,
They're
that's the last team I want to talk about, and then we'll get into a couple other things. But yeah, BYU kind of live by the 3, die by the 3. But yeah, what's your thoughts on them?
Well, they're living by it right now because they've got a couple guys that just hit everything. I mean, they've got 3 guys that are going to hit every single open three. It's pretty amazing. But they are playing well at the right time. They're passing the ball extremely well. They got this guy Igor Dimon who is listed as a lottery pick on most people's drafts, and he's he's like 6'9", but he's a great ball handler and passer, and their ball movement's incredible. They got shooters all over the floor. They got a big guy. They just won at Arizona, I think.
Yeah,
So
they did by 1. Yeah.
I actually have them ranked pretty high. I have BYU at number 8 right now for me. So
Wow, 8.
yeah, and it's based on how they're playing right now. It's like
27 for Ken Palm.
yeah.
Paul Palm got him at 8. Wow.
Yeah, I mean they're playing really great basketball right now. Obviously, they had some struggles at certain points of the year, but at the way
I
they're
really like
playing
BYU
now,
that much, huh? Wow.
the way
Okay.
they're playing right now, I think they could easily make an Elite Eight team. So they're one of my teams. I'm kind of going out on a limb on here.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I always get iffy about those teams that rely on the 3 so much because
yeah,
it depends on the matchup though. But yeah, like they could just shoot, they could catch a weird gym somehow, and then the
yeah,
lighting's off, and then they shoot like 3 for 21 from 3, and then they're out of the tournament. But
yeah. Well, I think they're a little more than that this year too, though. Like they got some guys who can get to the basket.
okay,
They got some big guys inside who can finish above the rim.
they're taking on West Virginia, who's 17-11. I guess this is a big game for them, obviously.
Yeah, I mean they're right. And West Virginia is a solid team too.
Yeah, they got some good wins. They beat Gonzaga, they beat Kansas, they beat Arizona. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And they've been without one of their best players for most of the year too. Tucker DeVries,
Oh yeah, that's
the
right.
coach's son, he's been out for
From Drake, right?
yeah. My
Yeah.
camera is really struggling here.
Oh yeah, the father and the son both went to West Virginia.
Yeah. So he's been out. I think he's missed like half the season, but they're very talented. They've got a lot of athletes. That game's at West Virginia, is that right?
No, it's at BYU.
It is. I like BYU right now. They're playing as well as anybody not named Auburn and Duke right now. I think. I mean, they're just shooting it so well, but they're more. Like I said, they're more. I think they're more than that this year. They're more than just the shooting. They've got guys that can handle it, and they're tough. I really like this team.
Okay. All right. So yeah, maybe. But let's. What do you think the spread in this game is? Like BYU -10, like that, -8.
Probably a little less, maybe 6 to 8. Yeah, maybe 6 to 8 somewhere.
Well, you figure you get about 5-6 points for the home court, and then if you think BYU is what, like 2-3 points better, or you think?
Yeah, and I think they're probably underrated at the moment, just because they've lost a decent amount of games this year. They weren't playing that well earlier on. They've really picked it up these last couple of weeks, and they've just been very impressive to me recently. And like their freshman has really been, starting to play better. He's always been very talented, but I don't know. I questioned his toughness there for a while, but he's young, and I really like them. The only other team I wanted to say something about, Maryland and Michigan State. Did you see that game last night?
Oh yeah, the 58-55, the
The
half court
half
shot
quarter
winner.
for the
Yeah,
win.
yeah, that was
That was
crazy.
crazy. So I
Yeah.
like both of those teams too. Those two teams I actually have ranked, especially Maryland. I have number 7 and Michigan State number 6. So
Yeah, Michigan State I think is going to play on Sunday. But yeah, I did watch Michigan State UCLA game. That was actually a really fun game to watch.
yeah,
Michigan,
Jace Richardson's playing real well for Michigan State.
Izzo is just, he just coaches those teams up so well, the way they play, the defense and the system. So yeah, for sure.
They're always great in the tournament. So
Always great in the tournament.
they'll be dangerous for sure. But Maryland, I like too. Maryland, they've got to pick up their defense a little bit.
On Sunday we got Wisconsin, Michigan State, Illinois, Michigan, and then Memphis, UAB. Memphis, have you seen them?
Yeah, I watched that. I like UAB too, so that'll be a big game to watch. That's the two best teams in that conference going head to head, and I think either of those teams are certainly capable of winning a couple games in the tournament. So both of them, I think they should both be in. I hope UAB's in because they deserve to be. They've got a pro on their team. It's like Yaxel Lindenborg or something like that. He looks like an NBA player to me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Penny's finally figured out with Memphis too. 23.
Well, Memphis always has the talent. They always have talent, and that conference is not very good. So most of those teams don't really have much of a chance against someone like Memphis. They're too big, too athletic.
Yeah,
but
UAB's they can make some noise. That's Florida Atlantic's conference with the AAC, and then Atlantic 10. You got VCU. They're 23-5 this year. George Mason. Remember them when they went to the Final Four with Larry?
Yeah, I don't love that. I don't love that conference. I feel like they're gonna. I
used to like that conference, like VCU. Remember like Eric Maynor when he beat Duke that one year.
Yeah, they were great back in the Shaka Smart days.
Yeah, Mo Alley Cox, the tight end from the Colts, he went there as well. I've actually I went to one of their games, their home games, because I used to go to Richmond a lot. Nice. But yeah, that conference. I don't know if it's as good as it used to be.
Yeah, they're a little down, I'd say. It'll be hard for any of them to really win a game.
I'm trying to look at some. The Big South. You got High Point at 26-5.
I did look at them a little bit.
Big West, UC San Diego's 24-4. Irvine 24-5. UNC Wilmington 23-7. Charleston 22-8. Not a terrible conference. The Coastal Athletic.
Yeah, I need to see. I haven't seen UNC Wilmington in a while.
Liberty 23-5. Just if any of these stick out as possible Sweet 16 teams, let me know. Liberty 23-5.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to envision that happening at this point. Maybe if I see the bracket and they get a nice little draw with a couple teams who might have an injury or not playing
Missouri Valley Conference that has had a lot of good success in the tournament. Obviously, we know about Southern Illinois made a run. Drake's made run. Northern Iowa, Bradley's made runs. Illinois State made runs. What's the team I'm missing with Sister Jean?
Oh, Loyola Chicago.
Yeah, that's not Missouri Valley. Did they leave that conference?
I think it is, isn't it?
I don't see them in there anymore.
No, well, everybody's been moving conferences the last couple of years.
Belmont was
pretty hard to keep up.
Belmont was never in Missouri Valley, right?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with these days. I don't even know who's in the big conferences half the time.
But Drake, I watched them play against Northern Iowa. I don't know. I just they play that slow pace, and I guess that.
I love their point guard. They got a point guard, Bennett Sturts, who I really like.
Yeah, he looks pretty good. You're right.
But the rest of the team, it's one of those things. They're going to have to get the right matchup. They're going to have to shoot it incredibly well, and they're going to have an off day from whoever they're playing. If that all happens, they might be able to pull off an upset. And, it happens. It happens at least once or twice every year in the tournament where somebody that just looks like they don't have a chance pulls it off with some crazy 3-point shooting.
Like the kid from Oakland got freaking crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Their record was terrible. Didn't they barely get to the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, completely unexpected. But something like that happens every year. Somebody gets hot and pulls it off.
So I mean, 3-point shooting, that's an upset. If they can bank three, that's always an upset possibility. Is there any mid majors or that stick out to you, or you can't think of any of the top of your head?
I mean, UAB I almost consider a mid major who I kind of like. I think Yale, obviously they're undefeated, playing well. Maybe they could pull something off. Drake I think might have a shot if they get in. Utah State, somebody like that. But I think it's gonna be hard for any of those teams.
You like Utah State out of the Mountain West is your favorite team there?
I mean, I like New Mexico also. I mean, I like both those teams all right, and I think they're both capable of winning a game, but they'll have to get the right matchup. I mean,
KenPom has UC San Diego number 35.
Yeah, so I mean, I watched them.
Go ahead.
I haven't watched them much. I watched a highlight with them and UC Irvine, and I mean, they just don't look nearly athletic enough to be able to beat any of these. Like, they would just have to have a miracle performance of making a hilarious amount of threes, making like 23s or something.
I would say the next highest team he's got in there is Santa Clara, 56, and then Drake, 59.
Yeah.
McNeese, 64, 23 and 6.
I'm disappointed in McNeese from last year. I bought into the McNeese hype last year and picked them over Gonzaga, and they got beat by like 30.
I think
that was a bad pick.
I
picked them to win 2 games last year, and it just killed me.
Yeah, I need to find another. What was that team that made a run a couple of years ago? Now they're both their best players transferred. I can't remember what the hell team it was. You still with me? There you are. You're back. Okay.
I don't know. My camera's really having a hard time. I don't know what the problem is. It keeps letting me start it back up, but
who was that team that made that great run? They went to the Sweet 16. They had those 2 players, and then they both transferred to the Big 12. They had that point guard. I think he went to where the hell did he go? Texas, maybe. I can't remember the freaking name.
Well, somebody who had a couple big wins last year, Grand Canyon. Yeah, that'd be a team but they still got that.
They still got that kid Foster there too, right?
Yeah. Well, the problem with him, he's had heart trouble. Like I think he's had a heart surgery or something.
It came back. I thought he had that, and then it went away, and it came back again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's still playing, but he doesn't look quite the same to me. Doesn't look quite as explosive, but I don't know.
Yeah, remember they beat St. Mary's last year.
Yeah, they beat him bad. Did they win another game?
They're a really athletic team from what I remember. And that's why they beat St. Mary's, because St. Mary's is not very athletic.
Well, he's a freak athlete, and he still has it in him, but I don't know. He just looked like he wasn't moving as fast as he was last year. I mean, obviously, if he's having heart trouble, that's pretty major. So
good. So let's you got Auburn as your favorite right now, plus 340 with the experience. And we talked about a couple of mid majors, maybe UAB. You like Utah State and a couple other teams. But is there any we talked about some of the NBA prospects, but any guys that maybe a little bit under the radar that stick out to you, or guys that you love the most as NBA prospects?
Well, I've talked about Tahad Pettiford already, who, he's not really listed on a lot of these mock drafts, but I've got him in the top 5 of my draft, so I love him.
Didn't I like Derek? 6'1"?
Yeah, 6'1". He's a little guy, but he's really skilled.
I gotta watch him.
But Derek Queen from Maryland, I like a lot, so that's kind of why I have them up there. They're a very talented team. Their defense, though, is probably what's going to kill them. They've got to play better D. They're capable. They're capable of it, but they just
Derek Queen 6'10", 46 from Derek Queen 6'10", 246 from Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I feel like they could make a pretty good run. I really was disappointed they didn't beat Michigan State yesterday, but I mean they kind of they were right there.
He's a double.
They're right there.
Double. He's a double guy. 15-10.
Oh yeah, and I think they're underutilizing him too. Like he's the kind of guy who has like an almost Jokic skill set. Like he can handle the ball, he can pass, and they're not playing through him enough. they don't give him the ball enough. Like he'll go stretches of the game where he just barely even touches it, and that just can't happen. He's got to be touching the ball every possession because he makes great decisions with the ball. He can pass. He's gonna be able to pass or score most of the time. There's not much he can't do, and he's a big guy. He can shoot it. I mean, he's a top pro for me.
All right,
I think he's kind of
give me
a
one.
polarizing prospect to everyone else. Some people have him high, some people have him more in like the 25 to 30 range, but I really like him.
All right, give me one or two more.
Um, just underrated guys, like you think. A guy I've talked about him already today that I really like. Think he will make the NBA. Who you're not going to find on any list is Ian Shefflin for Clemson. He's a guy that just no one would want. They would not want him to be guarding him. He's just a complete pest. Really strong, and he's been playing great for them. Let's see who else. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. I talked about Igor Denman already from BYU. He's pretty well known. I'm trying to think of some guys that could actually make a run. Jace Richardson for Michigan State. LeBaron Philon for Alabama. He's a freshman. Both those guys are freshmen. Just really starting to play well. Yeah, I mean, all the Florida guys. Florida's got a lot of great players. I really think there's only 4 teams that can really win the championship. I'd say Auburn, Duke, Alabama, and Florida. I really don't think anyone else could
Not
win
Houston, huh?
Nah, I don't see them having a chance to win.
Because they're plus 750. Bama is plus 1,000, and Florida is 1,200. So
yeah, I got Florida at 40-1 early in the year, so I'm rooting for them. But
all right,
I fully expect it to be Auburn or Duke, but I think those other 2 teams have a chance. I don't really think anyone else has a chance. Like there's plenty of teams that can make a Final Four run, but winning the title, not many teams with a shot. I don't think.
All right, I think that
but
about
it's more
does it,
than
man.
one.
Go ahead.
Last year it was only 1. So I thought UConn was the only team with a real chance to win last year, and they did. But this year, I'd say 4 teams have a shot.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So a lot of good games this week. We're again 17 days from Selection Sunday. We're gonna hit March this weekend. So the conference tournaments are going to start. You're going to start with the smaller tournaments, and then we're going to get into the power conferences. So it's all going to ramp up pretty soon here. So, yeah, next week we'll be back for more picks. Maybe Josh has some changes to his national championship. Maybe he's got some other prospects he wants to talk about. But, maybe next week we'll try to go Friday a little bit earlier if we can. This way, get a little more airtime, give you guys more time to get these picks in. But wanted to get a little bit of a preview here, get it started. Get you guys familiar with what the hell's going on as, again, 17 days away from Selection Sunday. Anything else to add, Josh, before we get out of here?
Not really. Got the 2 TVs set up, ready to go. Just going to be tuned in now. It's all big games from here. I feel I've put in a lot of work here on the last couple weeks. I feel pretty good about where everybody is. I don't expect many changes to what I'm looking at for who the favorites are. I think it'll stick pretty much the way I've got it. I've got 14 teams that I really think will probably be among the Sweet 16, and that leaves 2 spots open for somebody to make a run up there. I mean, obviously they won't all be right, but
all right. All right. Sounds good, man. Well, appreciate you coming on. We'll see you guys next week. You can follow Josh at Hoop Visions. Apologies for his camera. We'll get that fixed, but all good. If you're listening,
I'll try to work on that this week.
If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, doesn't matter anyway. But that's it, guys. Take care. We'll be back next week. Again, make sure you are liking, subscribing to the show, sharing. Face Off Sports Network, Fantasy Savvy. We'll be back for tons of Dynasty content on the show. We're going to start ramping up, NFL news talk as things are breaking. We'll see where Matthew Stafford ends up. That's going to be interesting. I think he's going to stay with the Rams, but combine going on, NFL draft. So stay tuned to all that. Make sure you guys are subscribing, hitting that notification button. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Josh.